Tonix Pharmaceuticals has entered into an exclusive worldwide licensing agreement for its antiviral COVID inhibitor. So with me is the CEO of Tonix, Seth Lederman. Great to have you, Seth, to explain this new agreement. Give me the overview, and then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about it.
Well, thank you, Jane, and thanks for having me on. We're very excited. The COVID pandemic still rumbles on, and despite the vaccine deployments and the rest of it, many people are going to continue to contract COVID. And right now, the drugs that we have aren't enough. So we're delighted to have reached an agreement with Oyagen, a private company in Rochester, New York, run by a professor from University of Rochester named Harold Smith, who's a worldwide leading expert on coronaviruses and RNA viruses in general. And they've developed what we are now calling TNX 3500. And they've brought it to a point where it's a perfect deal for both sides, because we will be able to bring it into clinical trials and get it tested. And they've done all of the basic science up to this point. Okay, so describe, like, where in the coronavirus process would this come? Would this be a treatment for somebody who's infected, preventative, early in the sickness? I mean, how does it work? Thank you. Yes, this is for someone who is at the early stage of showing symptoms. And it is similar mechanistically to Gilead's drug remdesivir, but it's different enough that Oyagen has already shown that remdesivir and TNX 3500 are additive, meaning that their mechanisms don't quite overlap. That if you put the two of them together in tissue culture, you can use lower doses of each of them and get higher killing of the virus. So in a lot of antiviral therapies, combination therapy is critical. For example, in HIV, I'm sure you've heard of drugs like Atripla and other ones, where you need to be hitting a virus at more than one point, first of all, to get more activity, but also potentially to decrease the ability of the virus to mutate away from the antiviral therapy you're giving.
Okay. And then, so when might patients be able to use this? Or I know I ask you this and it's always a little tricky, but do you have any kind of timeline at all?
Well, I mean, our near-term goal is to get it into trials. Mm-hmm. So we are rapidly going to put it into our system and make the drug product and get the application together to FDA called an IND so that we can begin human testing. Depending on where in the cycle our initial human results will come, I think will depend on how quickly it can get out. For example, if COVID is as bad as it is today, then clearly we would consider the pathway of an emergency use authorization. If the vaccines and herd immunity bring COVID down a notch, then maybe it would go through more of a regular pathway.
Okay. And then this is just one thing you've been working on. I mean, you have a lot of other things in the pipeline too, with immunology, central nervous system therapies. Kind of explain where all of that is at this point.
Yeah, we have a lot going on. One of the very distinctive things about Tonix is that we are agnostic in terms of the type of technology underlying a therapeutic. So our products go all the way from a live virus vaccine for COVID to a protein made in CHO cells, to a protein made in E. coli, to small peptide therapeutics, to small molecules. So we cover the gamut of things. But what a year we're having. We expect to have 4 drugs in clinical trials by the end of the year in 3 in phase 2 studies, 1 in phase 1. But that's in addition, I'm not even counting our treatment for fibromyalgia, which is our lead program. That is mid-phase 3. And we expect to report the interim analysis of the fibromyalgia study for TNX 102SL in Q3. and we expect to report the top line data in the fourth quarter. Now, if that data are positive, and we think that's a good chance because this study is really a duplicate, a confirmatory study of the positive phase 3 that we reported in last year, at the end of last year, then we would be in a position to file the new drug application. So we have a number of programs that are in late clinical stage development, but they are led by 102SL for fibromyalgia.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Seth, for joining us with the update. Best of luck and congratulations on your success.
Thank you very much, Jane. Thanks for